What if getting a break wasn't really about luck at all? What if it wasn't about chance? The source material we're diving into today talks about this idea of favor, and it presents it as a system, a set of principles that you can actually use to unlock some unusual access and, well, open doors in your life. So let's break it all down.
Have you ever found yourself asking this? I mean, you look around and you see other people just moving forward. Things seem to click for them. They get the breaks. And you feel kind of stuck. Well, the source material for this explainer suggests that the answer isn't just random. It actually lies in a set of keys that anyone can learn to use.
So here's our roadmap. We're going to break this journey down into 5 parts. First, we'll nail down what favor really is. Then we'll get into the keys to unlock it, starting with what's inside you, your own character. Then we'll look at your connections with others, and finally, we'll touch on what the source calls spiritual activation. And stick with me, because by the end, you're going to have a really clear path to follow.
Okay, let's start at the very beginning, the foundation. Before we can even talk about activating favor, we have to get on the same page about what our source material actually means by that word. Trust me, it's a lot more than just some vague, fuzzy idea.
Here it is. The source defines favor as something much deeper than just being popular or well-liked. I want you to think of it as a spiritual advantage, a force that literally creates unusual access, acceptance, and just kindness from other people. And here's the most important part. It's not random. It's an outcome that, according to this, you can intentionally activate.
So, this journey to activating favor, it actually begins inside. It's not about what you do first, it's about who you are. These first keys are all about your personal character. It starts with you.
And the absolute bedrock of this entire system, according to our source, is this first key: honor. But listen, this is not just about passive respect. The definition we're about to look at is super specific, and it's all about action.
Okay, so this is crucial. Honor isn't a passive feeling. It's an active 3-step process. First, you discern. You actually see and recognize someone's unique value. Second, you celebrate it, you acknowledge it. And third, where you can, you reward it. You see? It's something you do, not just something you feel.
Now, on the flip side, the source uses this really powerful metaphor for the opposite of honor. It calls dishonor a sound that rings out in the spiritual realm. And this sound, it suggests, acts like a barrier, just stopping you from getting access to opportunities. It even talks about spiritual migration officers, forces that can detect this dishonor and basically block your progress. That's a really intense idea.
To really get this, the source tells this amazing story. There was a pastor, right? And he was seeing incredible things happen in his ministry. I mean, people were getting healed, lives were totally changing, but, and here's the paradox, at the exact same time, his own family life was just crumbling. He had zero favor at home.
And this is where the principle of honor just clicks into place. His wife completely changed her approach. Instead of coming to him as a frustrated wife, she addressed him as servant of God. By doing that, she was honoring the spiritual role he had, not just their husband-wife relationship. And according to the source, that single act of honoring his specific function unlocked the very power he used in his ministry and brought it right into their home.
All right, the second key of character is integrity. And this is cool. The word actually comes from integer, which means whole or complete. So it's all about being solid, unbended, consistent all the way through.
And here's the payoff for having that integrity, as our source explains it. The word children here is seen metaphorically. It doesn't just mean your kids. It represents everything you create, your ideas, your projects, your work. The principle is pretty simple. When the source of something is solid and whole, everything that flows from that source is empowered to succeed.
Okay, so once that internal foundation of character is in place, the system starts to expand outward. Now we're going to look at the keys that have to do with how we connect with the world and all the people in it.
Now, this third key is so simple, but it is profound. Favor is attracted to value. You have to bring something to the table. This is all about finding, refining, and then actually using your unique contribution.
This quote just says it all, doesn't it? Your gift, whether that's a spiritual gift, an intellectual one, a practical skill, it's your promoter. It literally creates space for you. It's the vehicle that gets you into rooms and into conversations that can completely change your life. Developing that gift isn't optional, it's absolutely essential.
And that brings us to the fourth key, relationships. The source talks about relationships as a kind of powerful currency.
It suggests that who you're connected to and who values you has a huge impact on your journey.
And this leads to a really important distinction. Not all relationships are just one thing. The way you relate to someone determines the kind of value you receive from them. So, using the source's example, let's say your mentor is also your brother. If you only relate to him as a brother, you get family stories. But if you honor his role as a prophet or a mentor, you unlock a totally different stream of wisdom and blessing. The whole idea is to recognize and engage with all the different valuable roles people play in your life.
So you've built your character, you're creating connection. Now we get to the final keys. The source presents these as the spiritual activators. They're like the catalysts that just amplify everything else you're doing.
The fifth key is what the source calls favor-provoking prayers. The idea that you can literally actively ask for favor to show up in your life. And the sixth key is this fascinating spiritual idea called impartation, which is all about the transference of favor from one person to another. So impartation is described as this transference of grace or favor. The source gives us the story of Esther as a perfect example. She went through this whole preparation process that made her totally stand out to the king, and this highlights a huge idea. Favor often works through what's called the power of sight, or how you are seen. Impartation, then, is like a spiritual enhancement that changes how influential people see you, compelling them to give you that favor.
Phew! Okay, we've walked through all 6 keys. Now, let's bring it all home and look at the complete system as one clear, actionable path.
And here it is, the whole system in 3 stages. It's so clear. First, you build your internal foundation with honor and integrity. Second, you build your external bridge to the world through your value and your relationships. And finally, you amplify all of it through spiritual activation with prayer and impartation. You see how each step just builds on the last one?
So there you have it, a complete system of keys all laid out from our source material. The question now isn't really what the keys are. It's which door are you going to unlock first?